Let me bring in Ambassador Volker. Ambassador, thank you for coming in. And let's start with what would negotiations look like at this point, right? And what's your sense of what the Zelensky government is even comfortable negotiating?
Yeah, well, at this stage, I think the Ukrainians have very much toughened up their position for a variety of reasons. The Russians have been absolutely brutal in attacking Ukraine. They've killed thousands of people. There's 10 million people on the move, 3 million in other countries. So the Ukrainian government is saying this has to end. The Russians have to get out. So that's their basic line here. Right. The Russians, on the other hand, are still not giving up. They are saying, we want Ukraine to surrender. We want to take territory. We want recognition that Crimea is part of Russia. We want recognition of Donbass as two independent states. So the Russians aren't really negotiating seriously either.
Let me ask this. I mean, it does feel as if, though, that there's a point where, Zelensky's backed off a little bit on NATO membership, right? Are we going to be in the uncomfortable position, and I mean I'm speaking for NATO, the West, where we may have to accept the deal that he takes that may give Putin more than we're willing to accept?
I don't think so. In fact, what I've been hearing in the last couple of days is pressure the other way around.
Just the opposite.
From some of our allies telling Zelensky, you need to cut a deal, you need to give away some territory, this is too much. And Zelensky refusing to do it because he is now in a position where he both militarily has stopped the Russians. It's been a month now, and they have stopped the Russians. And his people are looking at him, and he can't let them down by saying, okay, now we're going to give things away.
I think about your experience with Ukraine. I'm curious, compare now to even 10 years ago. I mean, it does feel as if there really is a Ukrainian sovereignty that I think the Russians didn't really expect.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is one of the great transformations over the last decade, or even just since 2014, 8 years. When Russia invaded Crimea and then started the war in Donbass, there was a lot of ambivalence in Ukraine. They didn't like the government. They didn't like the previous government.
That's what made it harder for us to sort of create an international resistance to Crimea? Do you think ultimately because there wasn't enough internal resistance?
I wouldn't say that. No, there was. We were actually telling the Ukrainians at the time, don't fight back, don't escalate, we'll negotiate this. And we were taken by surprise that the Russians moved as fast as they did and that they moved to annexation right away. That took everybody by surprise. Then the second invasion was in Donbass, and the Ukrainians did fight, and that's how we ended up with the ceasefire line and the Minsk agreements. But ever since then, for 8 years, the Ukrainians have been in a battle with Russia. There's been a front line. Young people have been sent there fighting. Few people killed every week. So this has really gelled a Ukrainian sense of national identity far stronger than anything that existed before.
Let's talk about what NATO will, or won't do, or maybe what they will and won't say. The decision to be ambiguous about the chemical, like if you do chemical weapons, that changes the calculus. Obviously, if you're changing the calculus, you're not involved. That must mean you are involved. What do you think they want Putin to read into that?
Yeah, well, I think it's, first off, wise not to be explicit about what you will do or what you won't do. Let Putin guess. And I think what they want Putin to infer is that we have very strong conventional capabilities that could really do damage to their invasion force in Ukraine if we wanted to, and we're not doing it. But if they touch nuclear or chemical or biological weapons, we very well might.
What's your sense of what NATO's appetite is going to be for involvement if a month from now we're saying, hey, we're in month 3 of this war, and we're kind of in the same spot, the Russians trying to continue to sort of grind down Ukrainians in the east, but they haven't gotten to Kyiv. I sometimes vacillate. Are the Europeans going to crack and be like, we're tired, we're tired of this, or the other way, like, let's get involved. This is enough is enough.
I think it's going to hinge on the humanitarian situation. We still have this surreal feeling that, okay, it's been a month, these people are refugees, but we're seeing the pictures, they look healthy, they're in Poland, they're going to other countries. So it seems like this is still somehow temporary. And if we see the continued bombardment of the cities, tens of thousands of people killed, 5-6 million refugees flooding into Europe, I do think that gels in Europe now we can't allow this to continue. We've got to find ways.
You're describing sort of Central Europe in the mid-90s, right? I mean, that's sort of, there was a point where enough was enough.
Yeah, well, the Balkans in the mid-90s.
Right,
yeah,
yeah,
that's exactly right. And I think if we see something like that, or something really horrific like Srebrenica was in Bosnia, that people said, this is enough, we have to demand that Putin stop, and then we do enter more. One of the things we're underestimating is how much Putin doesn't want the West to intervene. So we're afraid of getting involved because of a World War III. He's afraid of that.
Because he can't win that.
He can't win.
And
he can't win now either.
Very quickly, did you think of Zelensky when you first met him, and did you think he was basically going to become a 21st century Churchill?
Well, first off, nobody imagined that this would be happening 2 or 3 years ago. But when I met him, what I was struck by is he was earnest. He had a lot of integrity, a lot of sincerity. He was coming from outside politics, and he wanted to change things. And I think it's those characteristics that have made him the leader that he is in wartime now, because he's sincere. He cares about the country. He cares about the people.
Seems to have a strong compass.
Yeah.
Ambassador Volker, thanks for coming in. I appreciate getting your perspective.